And we're live.
Woo!
What's up, guys? It's the PMMetalGuide podcast. I'm your host, Sam.
And I'm Adam.
And today we're going to be talking about the phenomenon that's sweeping the nation, trap metal, and what it means for the future of metal as a mainstream music genre.
Wouldn't it be the world? I mean, I don't know. It is sweeping the world, but I guess.
Well,
whatever.
it would be sweeping the multi-nations.
Fair
But
enough.
besides that, before we hit that actually pretty interesting topic, we're going to talk about what we've been listening to. Adam, what have you been listening to?
Unfortunately, a lot of trap metal. But we'll get into that. So we'll start with the stuff that I have been listening to that's not that, such as I guess I'll start with new stuff. New Pallbearer came out last week. Forgotten Days, full length. It's
Forgotten Days, because it's easily forgettable. Oh,
So I have mixed feelings on this album. Actually, I listened to it one day, like fully, like when it came out. I was like, all right, I'm in. I'm gonna listen to Pallbearer, and I did not enjoy myself. And this sounds horrible, but I put it on in the background, and I was like, another day, and I was like, all right, this is pretty good. So, I think Pallbearer has a very distinct sound, and they're doing it well on this album, but it's kind of boring. It is definitely a moments album, just as all of Pallbearer's stuff is, and distinctly, the longer songs are so much better than the other stuff. Like
100%
Silver
agree.
Wings is just
Silver Rings is phenomenal. It's easily the best tune.
it's stunning. And even the final track, which is like 8 minutes, is I'm actually feeling the emotion that Pallbearer is trying to convey on this one. As I did with Heartless and Lia Survival and Plea and I think it's Plea for Understanding. I love those tracks because I feel like their formula works so well in a long form setting. But most of the tracks here are just around 6 minutes. There are even a few tracks
it's
that
pretty
are
straightforward, Sabbath worship for the most part.
yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, I think it's a hard 6.
Yeah.
They're all the tracks have good moments, but for the most part, it's just kind of boilerplate trad doom with a focus on choruses, and that's not really what I like. But it's handled well enough.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really like Heartless. It's a fine album.
Right.
I really like Star and Extinction. That album's amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
And
look.
this one, I don't know. I think it's fine. It's a good metal album, but there are so many good metal albums.
Yeah.
And it's always a cop out when you say it, but I'd love to see it live. I'm sure it'd be fun live, but it's not doing too much for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'll probably put it on when I'm like, oh, you know what? I haven't listened to this album in a little while and throw it on. But it's definitely not one of the more memorable albums of the year.
Yeah, that's sort of where I stand. But I mean, I don't know. It's fine. I will say I really dislike the production on this album.
Yeah?
It's really fuzzed out, and I love fuzzy production, but I don't know. Something about it just feels less immediate.
Okay, fair enough.
All right,
What about you,
well,
Sam? What do you got?
Well, I guess the other elephant in the room that we both have on our topsters that's not trap metal, and this album's legitimately amazing, is new Clipping.
Yes.
New It's Clipping, bitch. Yeah.
Yep.
Visions of Bodies Being Burned, which is the sequel to their 2019 album, There Existed an Addiction to Blood. And this album is pretty damn good. It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Clipping doesn't miss. They have 5 full-length albums now. And this album, I'd argue, is honestly better than There Existed an Addiction. The songs all do really interesting things sonically. They all have really cool narratives. You got the classic Clipping noise beats, the horrorcore beats, industrial influence with the V digs going all, I don't know, super technically proficient, but also good lyrically rapper on us. And it's immensely solid, really well done. Well, definitely one of the stronger rap albums of the year.
Absolutely. I actually would disagree, at least at this point. I think There Existed an Addiction to Blood is, in my sonic realm, better. I can understand why you think that this one is a little bit better, but I like how this one goes hard, but the album from last year just was a little more eclectic, a little more noisy.
Well, I think I like this album because it like all the songs feel fully formed. And don't get me wrong, There Existed an Addiction's awesome, but like a lot of the middle point of the album's a little too atmospheric for my taste.
Sure.
Like it's more sparse, and I prefer like the fully formed, I don't know, balls to the walls approach that Clipping uses in the earlier work.
This one is a lot more direct, but also kind of more minimalist, which I guess if you like that, then you like that. Regardless, it's a great album.
Yeah, shout out to Clipping. They were touring with like Dalek and like Jesu or something before COVID hit, which would have been an awesome show.
It would have.
And yeah, also it's a strong political stance, and that's always cool.
Mm-hmm. The only other album that I really want to talk about is 2017's Pierre's self-titled album, Pierre, as I think that's technically how it's phonetically said. But it's cool indie rock that a friend suggested to me that I had no idea about. That's very slowcore like.
It's like slowcore with like mathcore or math rock, I should say.
Yeah, it's a really nice hybrid between like, I guess, modern indie and those two genres. I think it does really. It just handles being very accessible, but at the same time, pretty weird, which is really cool.
It's an immensely solid album. I listened to it over the summer when I was gaming. Mm-hmm. Just a lot of really fun, catchy melodies. The songs feel fully formed,
and like the album's only 25 minutes, so like you can just toss it on and be like, oh, all right, yeah, sweet.
Yeah, Pear's pretty cool. They have a really cool audio tree recording. I'd suggest.
I listened to a few of the songs. I haven't watched it though.
Yeah, they're solid live.
Yeah,
as every modern band is.
I can imagine. Yeah. I don't know. I
have a couple more albums I'd like to touch upon before we jump into Adam's favorite new genre.
Yeah.
So I do a prog radio show every week, so I'm always listening to like modern prog, specifically modern prog rock, because not very much of it gets released nowadays, because prog metal's definitely cooler in every way. But two pretty good prog rock albums came out last week. The first of which isn't really that good, but I like, is the new Honorary Astronaut album. Have you listened to it, Adam?
No, I haven't.
So
I've been meaning to, but I don't know, man.
Well,
I'm scared. I'm scared.
So I'm gonna be real with you.
Yeah,
well, actually, I gotta give some. So, Honorary Astronaut is the new solo project for Casey Crescenzo, multi-instrumentalist extraordinaire. He who helmed the Deer Hunter, was in the receiving end of Sirens, and since the Deer Hunter has sort of become more of a collaborative project, he's been doing music for Honorary Astronaut in quarantine just by himself. He released the debut album like last week. It's a short EP, 5-6 songs. It's pretty good. It sounds like compared to like most Deer Hunter sounds, it sounds like White most specifically. So like a lot of indie pop tendencies with this proggy veneer and this weird like wisteria conveyed through like electronic and synth textures.
Sure.
And I don't know. At first, I was like, this is atrocious. Like, I'm not listening to this ever again. But I've listened to it a few more times. It's definitely grown on me. All the tracks have nice moments. And if you like the Deer Hunter, it sounds like the Deer Hunter. And, it's definitely a lot better than All Is All Should Be.
That is good to hear.
But seriously, I'd recommend checking it out. Like, all the songs have really cool moments, and all the melodies are so unbelievably Casey Crescenzo, and it makes me happy inside.
I can I can imagine, but
The synth tones too. There's like a lot of really subtle synth usage on this album, and they sound amazing.
All
Seriously.
right. Fair enough.
And then the other prog rock band, AMG's latest 4.5, Wobbler,
Yeah.
which is what's the album called? Shelters of the Beat, Children of the Sea,
Dwellers of the Deep.
Dwellers of the Deep. I'm
You're
sorry,
close.
I was struggling to read the Last FM text. Anywho, Wobbler are a Norwegian prog rock group. They sound eerily similar to like Golden Era Yes, but in a good way.
Okay.
Like, have you listened to them?
No, but I have it on my radio set list, so I've listened to one of the songs.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's a really modern take on like Yessian brand of English prog right around the turn of like 1969, 1970, and it's just immaculately well done. Like all the songs, perfect lengths, feature 6 solo sections, good melodies, proggy goodness, and like I listen to a lot of prog, and this is really well done. It also sounds immaculate, like really warm, really airy, really analog-y.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. You do like I don't know the last time you listened to Yes, but like you'll listen to this album, and you're like, oh shit, this is amazing.
I don't know. I haven't listened to Yes in a good while, but I mean, Close to the Edge is probably one of my favorite albums ever. So I'm sure I'll enjoy this Wobbler album.
Yeah, it's really good. Like I think it's definitely in my topster.
Okay. Shit.
Like I mean, granted.
For the year?
Yeah, no, dude. Like one of the best prog albums, easily best prog rock album of the year. It's definitely up there though. It's really solid. There's not a dull moment on this thing.
Cool. All right. Sweet.
And with that,
let's see. Anything else? No, not really. I listened to To Be Kind again after like a long time, and I know this isn't like an underground album that we should talk about, but like I'm sorry, but like wow. Like, Swans is just amazing.
Actually, I have a funny Michael Gira anecdote.
Please.
So I was talking to one of my friends on the radio, and a few of his bandmates saw Michael Gira's solo project a few years ago, and they got to have like a somewhat invested conversation with Michael Gira, and they said this man was like the most sociopathic individual they'd ever interacted with.
Honestly, I totally believe it. Because if you watch an interview with him in it, he just looks like such a fucking alien.
Yeah, he's like cosplaying as a human.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently you can actually find images of him like on this tour, but on that tour he dressed in like full old school Soviet gear, and so he was wearing like a communist beret and shit.
That's hysterical.
And my friend was like, yeah, we talked to him for a little bit, and he just kept on going on about how this wasn't real, and like how he shouldn't be playing this, and he said it was the most surreal condo he'd had in his life.
That's crazy. Jesus. I could totally believe it. And honestly, I'm envious of it.
Dude, he's a spaceman.
He is a spaceman.
I listened to Filth again this week.
Yeah.
That album slap.
It does slap. No wave bangers, dude.
Flex your muscle!
It's really heavy, and you're not really able... I've tried describing no wave to a few people, and it's hard. Because it's a bit of noise rock, a bit of noise, a bit of just like free jazz.
Sluggage.
Yeah, sludge. It's a weird thing.
Speaking of weird genre mishmashes that have no place. No, I'm just kidding. I actually like trap metal. But we're going to be talking about trap metal.
Oh boy.
So, for those who don't know, one of the genre's biggest names, GHOSTMANE, dropped an album last week. He leaked it out here. He dropped it preemptively because his major label deal fell through. Mm-hmm. The album is called Anti-Icon, and it's an interesting piece. So, Adam, I say we talk about this album before taking a broader look at the scene in general.
I can agree with that. This is a half mini review / deep dive into the genre, I guess.
So first things first, GHOSTMANE, like he's like 29-year-old Floridian white dude with face tattoos. Like he looks like Marilyn Manson if he was homeless.
Look like Marilyn Manson if he was homeless.
And nothing against him. He's sort of like, so he came up in the SoundCloud scene in the mid to late 2010s by releasing a shit ton of just like self-released albums. Mm-hmm. And he's known for combining elements of industrial, emo, black metal, trap, and just like eclectic genre influencers. Mm-hmm. And so Anti-Icon is actually his 6th album, and I listened to the previous 2 albums to get like a reference, and this is definitely his most non-traditional rap album.
Okay. So I didn't do that, but I did listen to this album quite a few times, and I don't know, man. I can't. I really can't.
What do you mean?
It's just so unbelievably. Maybe you know what? I'm just gonna preface this. I don't like trap. I don't like GHOSTMANE's high flows. I don't like the instrumentation for the most part.
Okay, boomer.
And it's just the genre as a whole to me feels very. It's too in your face for the wrong reason. It's the wrong side of edgy. It's the like when you're like 10 years old and people are like, bro, like you listen to emo, like that Sleeping with Sirens stuff, dude. That's like really cringe. Yeah, that's how I feel about trap metal now. Like, well, I don't know.
No, I mean, like, your opinion's valid, but that's Adam's coming at it from the 60-year-old Slayer fan that has a Confederate flag tattoo viewpoint. I see.
It might be a boomer take. It really might be, but it's just so I don't know. There's a lot of stuff on this album that I really don't like.
Well, I mean, So before we talk about the specifics of the album, I just like to say I think what GHOSTMANE's doing and what him and a bunch of his peers have pioneered is really interesting, if nothing else. Because like
agree.
It's just sort of like a post-millennial take on rap and just a bunch of eclectic things together. And if you read interviews with this guy, he'll say his biggest influences are like Full of Hell, Dark Throne. And like OG 3-6 Mafia stuff, and it's really cool to hear that, and it's definitely post-internet music in a good way, because even like on his earlier more rap focused stuff, like this guy was never pigeonholed into making quote unquote trap metal. It was always this bizarre genre mishmash that just happened to have a lot of rapping.
Sure,
and I think that's really respectable.
I can agree that is respectable, and like I sort of mentioned this in a joking way to Sam before, but like he's been on like a fuck ton of stuff this year, like random shit that you'd never expect, like the New Health collaboration that we mentioned last week. He's on that for no reason, I guess.
Apparently, he's fun to collaborate with.
I'm sure he is, especially with that varied influence, like. He's on the new Poppy Noise album that we're going to talk about at some point, I'd hope.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, it's a soundtrack to her graphic novel.
Is it?
To her second graphic novel.
That's honestly hysterical.
Yeah, right?
I listened to it. It's okay. For noise, it's okay. Like I would
someone who makes noise, all noise is okay,
right.
Adam.
No, but like it's not good. It's okay.
All right. Well, yeah, GHOSTMANE collaborates with a lot of people.
He does collaborate with a lot of people, yeah.
And also, like, I want to talk about his live show as we transition to the other rappers. But it's really cool that, I don't know, that someone in this position is doing that. Mm-hmm. And like, as far as the music himself, like, I think this album more than anything else is like a post-industrial album.
Sure.
Like, there are really only a few songs with very prominent rapping. A lot of the other tunes are like atmospheric, like 9 Inch Nails type tracks.
Honestly, I don't even know. It some of them go harder than 9 Inch Nails does.
Yeah, exactly. Well, kind of like Broken Aaron in.
Yeah.
Like, I will say, like, I think this album's fine. Like, I think it's like a strong 6. Like, I think it's fun to listen to. It accomplishes the goals it sets out to achieve. And there's only one track I don't like, and that's Falling Down, because that's a bad closer.
Go on.
But no, like this album has good moments. Like, I think Intro Destitute really sets the mood well. I think Vagabond's a banger. I think Lazaretto's a banger. I like the more rap focused tracks, and I like a song like Winds of Change, where it's just, you know, atmospheric acoustic guitar with like very soft spoken vocals. And I like a lot of like the melodic interplay here, where, you know, GHOSTMANE will do the age old technique of soft, loud contrasts, and it works really well in this context, and the production really aids that. A lot of these tracks are produced by him himself, and it's really cool. It feels like a singular artistic vision, and it feels like a voice that's not unwilling to experiment, and that's definitely comfortable in this very bizarre niche of contemporary trap.
Fair. I will say fair. But this album is so boring, Sam. For me, it's a chore to get through. It is a chore.
No, so I'm about to red pill you on something.
And it's 36 minutes. All right, go.
I'm about to red pill you on something.
Sure, go for it.
I can see you've listened to the most recent Scarlord album here. Yes,
I have.
We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but I will say that as a whole, the younger generation of SoundCloud rappers and trap metal, they don't make album-centered music.
They
make singles and then package them in an album form. And I think compared to the rest of his peers, this is an actually good album. Like, if you listen to something like 17 by XXXTentacion.
Let's not.
Like, that album does not function as a cohesive work of art.
No.
This album, Anti-Icon, does, and it does that by juxtaposing utter trap metal bangers like Lazaretto against like more melancholic atmospheric pieces, and I think it works well.
I completely agree with you. We can talk about Scarlord now, because I listened to the brand new Scarlord album, one of two this year, by the way. Prolific.
He's pretty prolific.
I'll give him that. But wow, dude, I've never heard anything. The moment that I put on this album, it was just like, I almost thought of it. I get why it's trap metal, because this sounds like a Black Gaze instrumental, like a really shitty, no tremolo picking, no blast beats, like super like bass level like Black Gaze demo with like the trap high scream over it, and it was just, man, it was like an hour and 15 minutes or however fucking long that album is of just. I honestly couldn't believe what I was listening to.
I actually like Scarlord.
I will agree that Anti-Icon is a functioning album, and I have to give it big props to that. Because even some of the other trap metal that I was listening to, like Suicide Boys, like fucking Rico Nasty, which is almost trap metal, but not really. It's still super disjointed. And I
commend GHOSTMANE for making a cohesive album experience.
Yes, I'll give him claps for that. Claps.
And we sort of hinted at it, but I guess to move on, because like that's our thoughts. I think this album's like a strong 6. Adam probably give it like a 4.
I would give it a 4.
I'm a psychic. But
for the record though, the songs that like there are cuts that go like really hard, like Antisocial Masochistic Rage. I thought went hard as shit, and I was like, okay, all right. I can get into this. I didn't completely hate this album, but overall, I think that it's just not for me, and I can't appreciate it because it is it's too grinding on my ears. And I listen to Harsh Noise, and this makes my ears like
boomer take.
Yeah, boomer take.
Well, I want to conclude by saying two things. First, sure. I want to touch upon the fact that trap metal, no two artists tackle the genre the same way.
No,
like GHOSTMANE in particular is really a mash of just heavy-ish sounds, but a lot of the other rappers like Scarlord or Suicide Boys are more just traditional trap instrumentals with varying levels of aggression on top of that.
Yeah,
and that's totally okay. I just think it's sort of interesting to use the term trap metal, because in metal, realistically, there's not a huge difference between black metal and death metal. But
No.
but to a metalhead, those terms mean everything.
It's really interesting, especially because there is so much of a difference between those genres, like just within trap and trap metal in particular. Because I don't know, I consider God bless me for not knowing my hip hop terms and genres, but I believe Denzel Curry is trap, and if this is a relative or subset of trap, it sounds completely different. Anti-Icon and Zoo sound so completely different.
No, so, that's the thing. If you're comparing an artist like Travis Scott,
yes,
who's one of the larger trappers. I know he's psychedelic trap, but let's ignore that. So GHOSTMANE, there's a world of difference, and to think that they fall under similar genre banners is very interesting. And I think it sort of speaks to the nature of the genre as a whole. But the second point is, Adam, have you seen any GHOSTMANE live videos?
Truthfully, no.
Okay, so I'd recommend watching his Lollapalooza set from last year. Okay. But what's really striking about this band's about GHOSTMANE's live presence is the way he lampoons late era nu metal iconography. It's actually pretty interesting because he's wearing all black trench coat. He's wearing the spikes on the arms.
Yeah.
And he has corpse paint on, and it's very edgy. It's kind of cool, but it's also very edgy. Sure. And then not only does he have a full band with him, so guitarist, bassist, drummer, DJ, turntablist, but they're all dressed not like first album Slipknot dudes. Yeah. No joke.
As I was doing some research on the trap metal scene, Scarlord, bring him back to him, was the vocalist in a nu metal band before he became Scarlord.
Yeah.
So
I think it's cool that a lot of the appeal here comes from the fact that these guys are willing to adapt all these previously popular, I guess, iconographies and then put them in a newer context.
Is nu metal coming back? This is the real question.
But I don't know. It's cool because you watch someone like Scarlord play live, and if you didn't know what kind of music it was, you'd be like, "Oh, this is nu metal deathcore or whatever."
Yeah. Until
the rapping starts.
Right.
By the way, his shows look pretty fun live. I'd totally see him.
Sure. I'd see any show live. But
yeah. Let's be real.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd just like to mention that I think the iconography is almost as important as the music.
I can agree in grand conceptual sense.
Yeah, but I guess I'll start talking about some other artists because really, when we say trap metal's the future of metal, that's sort of an unfair take because every single artist is so different, like we've already said. Right. The one artist I think I enjoyed a lot from the trap metal scene is Backwash. She just won a Juno prize.
I know she won a Juno prize.
Dude, that album's awesome.
Dude, I can't get into it. Seriously, does nothing for me.
Dude,
I listened to it 4 times, dude. I cannot.
Really?
It just seems like standard. It just sounds like Better X. And I know that's bad because I don't have another reference point, but that's just what it feels like to me.
Well, to me, it sounds more like Clipping or JPEG Mafia than any of the other.
I don't even know because it doesn't have enough room to breathe. The tracks are 2 minutes long, and sure, the instrumentals and vocals go pretty hard, but I don't get it.
Well, we can also talk about track length and the way these are structured because it's bizarre in comparison. Trap metal and GHOSTMANE, for example, all the songs on the album are structured like the B-side of the first Slipknot album. It's 3 minutes of meandering that jumps between unrelated verses and then random hooks that only appear once or twice.
Sure.
And there's no rhyme or method to that. And I think I respect that. I think it's cool.
To each their own.
Well, no, dude, I really like this Backwash album. I think it's really gothic. I think it captures the moment well. It's aggressive. It's a really raw display of emotion. I really like it, and it's from a fundamentally different perspective than my own, and I appreciate that.
I appreciate that too, but the music is just, it's so forgettable to me.
Dude,
like,
what do you?
It
like,
really. I don't remember a single. I don't remember a single hook. I don't remember a single beat. I don't remember anything. It just.
What about the Black Sabbath sample in that first song?
Wow, I remember the sample of one of the fundamental metal albums of all time. Great job.
Well, I mean, Adam, I guess I've listened to a fair amount of this stuff over the years, and like compared, it just feels like very mature, I guess, because a lot of like the trap, the more aggressive side of this, like someone like Craig Zen or whatever, or Syringe, who are also notable trap metal stars, those don't feel fleshed out in the way that like. And more often than not, it's just a beat and then a singer. And then in the Backwash tunes, it's a beat and a million different things going on, and then a vocalist. And it just feels really cool, thought out, full. I like that album quite a bit.
I don't know, man. I can't get into it. Maybe I need to submerge myself more in it, but for the time being, I am unimpressed.
Well, I guess we mentioned Scarlord. So actually, I think Scarlord is like the epitome of like why trap metal doesn't work in an album form. Because if you listen to like one of his songs, like one of his good songs on its own, shit rips. Like not that I'm the biggest fan of like screaming over trap instrumentals, but that shit hits hard, dude.
It does go hard. Yes, I agree. But yeah, no, it like that. Listening to that for an hour is just it takes a lot out of you.
Yeah,
because it really doesn't change.
Yeah, every song is just like boilerplate instrumental.
And
vocals.
the thing is, he has like 11 albums or whatever in the last 5 years, which is great, good for him. But I can only assume that it is very close to the same stuff for all of those records.
Yes,
I don't
sir.
know. I don't know. I think that is an inherent problem with calling it the future of metal, but because I do feel like metal, at least a lot of it is not conceptual, but long form is part of the appeal. At least for me.
I gotcha. Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's just a different way of producing music, because the way these people produce it, they're much younger than the average metal artist. Like,
yeah.
Early 20s at the oldest. And they don't edit their own work. So they make a tune and they send it through and then they mix it or whatever, and then it's done, right? And metal just doesn't have that luxury, because you're recording 8 different instruments and the songs are 8 minutes long. Yeah. So you generally you're going to be spending a lot of time per track.
Absolutely.
But I mean, I think that's fine. I think the more like traditional oriented artists like Rico Nasty and Suicide Boys, I think those are fun. I think they definitely have a lot more personality in like the traditional sense.
I would actually totally agree with you, and I was going to say that I enjoy those projects a lot more. Courtesy of this wonderful article that you sent me on our Alternative Press, I just sort of went through this and listened to all these, which included the City Morgues, your Scarlords, your Backwash, and your Rico Nasty and your Suicide Boys. And I can definitely get into those albums a lot more. Maybe it's because it feels a lot more close to the traditional hip hop that I guess I know and love. Not even know and love, but like, to me, those albums, used to is, I guess, the right thing. And I guess that sort of permeates the point of, boomer energy, boomer don't like trap.
Adam's over here, like, sipping his PBR, and he's like, yeah, I remember Tupac. Why don't none of these kids make music like that anymore?
I don't know. I do think that the personality within those records, keeps the hip-hop energy alive, and to me, it doesn't feel messy.
Yeah, I totally gotcha.
Even the Suicide Boys album, which, like, we're referencing the Suicide Boys EP that came out last year with Travis Barker.
Scene legend, of course.
Of all people.
Famous black metal drummer.
Yeah.
Playing on all of Mayhem's greatest.
Even some of those songs were, like, hard to get through, because the trap the trap metal instrumental is just like a super heavy deathcore breakdown, basically, and then back into like your trap beats with your standard rapping.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I mean, I think it's cool.
I think it's cool too.
I definitely, I think like myself, I prefer like the more eclectic blends of influences rather than the traditional stuff like Backwash or GHOSTMANE or like Bones, who's like one of the genre's progenitors, or even like, I don't know if you want to count like alternative hip hop as trap metal, but there's definitely like some overlap.
Sure.
Like Mr. Grips.
Mr. Grip. Well, we all love Mr. Grip here, so.
Yeah, we all love Mr. Grip.
Yeah.
But I think like at the end of the day, it's just like it's a bunch of younger individuals just making music that they think is cool, and I totally respect that.
Sure.
And so if there's like
no, go on.
a hegemonical response to it from the establishment, I think that's generally a good thing because it shows that like they're willing to mix things up in a way that no one has before.
What
and
about,
like, dude, this shit's popular.
I know, I know, and that's the weirdest thing to me. That really is the weirdest part about it, is that like this new GHOSTMANE album, AI already has 4 million plays on Spotify.
That's nuts.
Like, it's been out for
4 days.
4 days, whatever. And granted, GHOSTMANE is huge, but he's not like Taylor Swift huge or Tool huge or any of those big artists that retrieve like a ton of listens the day their shit gets put on the platform. I don't know. It is.
Well, I mean, I think it really. I think it does speak to like its position as a future of metal, because like if you want to, I feel like we always talk about this, but if you want to look at metal's history, it sort of had this slow transition to an outsider genre, because metal was at its commercial peak in the late '80s and then late '90s and early 2000s, and since then the prospects have just gone down and down and down and down, and like
right.
Kids like us getting into it now. Like, it's definitely an insider genre more than anything else.
Sure, 100%.
And I think we're sort of witnessing like the commercial peak of an insider genre, like with something like trap metal. Because I think before he died, XXXTentacion was probably like the biggest Ripjaw. The biggest figure in the scene, and regardless of a lot of questionable musical decisions and important personal decisions, like his music managed to connect with millions of kids in a way that we haven't really seen in a while. And that that's cool. It speaks to the power of the art, and it speaks to like an emotional vulnerability in a generation and an ability to connect with that.
Sad has almost 1.5 billion plays.
What?
Yeah, and that's on Spotify alone.
Jesus Christ!
I didn't
I don't really want to. I think trap metal is different from like the new wave of emo trap.
I would agree,
in a big way, but there's definitely some overlap. And like at the end of the day, it's speaking to a new generation in a way that like metal probably just never will again.
Yeah,
like I know we have an acquaintance in high school who was very into some of the genre's linchpins, and if that our friend was born in like the 90s, they probably would have loved new metal.
Right.
It's just the cultural zeitgeist switching over time. And I know, Adam, you're personally involved with someone who loves trap metal as well.
I do.
The fact that we can just name individuals in our life that really like this and name actually multiple of them speaks to like the popularity of it. Because I know like one other metalhead in the world, like they just don't exist. But if I find someone that listens to more aggressive contemporary trap metal, like there are a lot of them.
She surprisingly does not like the new GHOSTMANE. Interesting take. Maybe a future interview prospect, but that just thought I'd add it.
Oy vey. Actually, the thing about the GHOSTMANE response is all of his albums are a lot more rap focused than this one. Like, I really would describe this as like a neo-industrial record.
I agree. You know what? Let's go on RYM. What does RYM have to say?
Horrorcore, post-industrial, avant-garde, experimental rap, I believe.
There you go. So that's already completely different than what we're talking about. So I don't know, man.
Shout out to the Manson
metal.
breakdown.
Yes. Okay. All right.
So Adam, is this the future of metal?
No. And
why
and
not?
I'll tell. I was parsing this together earlier, but the thing that, yes, it is following. I think trap metal is going to follow the path that metal has taken, in where it has its blips in the scene, and like it. Right now, trap metal's huge, and trap metal will probably be huge. Trap metal was like probably huge in like 2016 too, when Syringe had his string of like really good albums.
I think it's definitely reached its commercial peak though, with like adjacent artists like Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Yeah.
Who isn't really trap metal, but close.
I don't see something like Anti-Icon. I think is an exception. I really do think that this is jumping a little too deep into the metal sphere that a lot of records will not do. Because I don't think Suicide Boys will make this album. I don't think Scarlord will make this album. I don't think anyone else will make this album, or anything that is remotely close to it. I think there's too much conformity into how the genre just works, where you just put out a song, slam, and it gets thrown into a bank of albums that just get released like once every 4 months or whatever the hell. Like, you're right, GHOSTMANE did make an album here, whereas other artists do not make albums in this genre. And I think that until the norm returns, if it ever does, returns to an album-based format, like making songs for albums, I don't think that this trap metal will cleanly transition into the metal place. But it does.
But Adam, albums are dead. They're not coming back.
I know albums are dead. I will say that it does follow. It will follow. Like I said, it follows the same trajectory that something like thrash had a huge boom in popularity in the late '80s, and nu metal had a huge boom of popularity in the late '90s. This is like trap metal had a huge boom in the early 2020s. And it probably won't stick around for very long. That would be my guess, but
I will say though, I think this is something else to touch on a lot. Is within the internet and genre lines being blurred so much, I feel like there's a good chance that like a lot of the kids that get into this when they're like 15 or 16 and listen to a shit ton of like GHOSTMANE or whatever, they wouldn't have too hard of a transition into like Nine Inch Nails or like Have a Nice Life, or even some of the heavier artists.
I can agree that it's the opposite trajectory of how to get into metal.
When you say opposite, what do you mean?
Well, we got into metal with stuff like Tool and rock music that went a little harder than usual, like grunge and, the like. This is just the opposite of that. This is obviously just like, oh, hey, trap, heavy trap, industrial, and then you're in metal. Mm-hmm. You're coming from a completely different end of it, but it's still there. Because, we can call Tool metal all we want, but is Tool really metal? Like, are they really? Are they really?
It's alternative metal.
Is alternative metal really metal?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a debate for another day.
Right. So that's why I cannot go ahead and call trap metal the future of metal. Because alt metal wasn't the future of metal. Mm-hmm. It had a huge influence on the scene and what happened to its popularity.
Let's amend this to say it's a great gateway for a lot of younger people to get into harder music.
Yes, I agree.
And I think by like there's almost like a before and after with a lot of like hard rock. There's before nu metal and after nu metal. And after nu metal, I know we listened to a Five Finger Death Punch song last week. Like they'll have the occasional scream, Mm-hmm. It raises the heaviness bar for like modern popular music, and I think trap metal is one of the things doing that. Like a lot of the larger contemporary rappers definitely are a lot heavier than we would have heard 10 years ago. And
no, absolutely. Reason. And it's the same thing with like hyperpop, Like, there's a reason 100 gex is where 100 gex is, and what 100 gex is going to do. We already know that. Like, we know that 100 gex is getting pop people to be like, oh, I like Charlie XCX, and this 100 gex thing is cool, so maybe there's something heavier.
Exactly. And I mean, that's a good thing. Because at the end of the day, we don't want metal to just circle jerk into infinite black metal demos that get released on cassette only. We need.
Are you sure?
Well, the genre needs a commercial face, and the genre needs at least a gateway drug for youngins to actually listen to underground metal.
I agree.
I think it's interesting, though, how, like, the demographics have switched. Because one thing that's crazy, if you look at, like, Spotify listener demographics, is trap metal specifically has a lot more female engagement than, like... I'm sorry I used the term female. A lot more women engagement than, like, previous huge genres. Like, nu metal has sort of, like, a sausage fest mentality. And, like, a lot of... Like, a band like Amon Amarth, who are huge, like... generally has a sausage fest mentality, and metal definitely has a history of that. And so it's cool that if you look at demographics, that they're almost even with the amount of girls that are also listening to artists like Suicide Boys, Renasty, Ghostmane, Scarlord.
That is very interesting, and I can kind
of... that's awesome. That's great. Agree. Diversity.
Yeah, it is kind of weird, and I kind of want to know the reason why. I don't really know why. But yeah,
let's not attempt to answer it, but it is an interesting paradigm.
Yeah. It is a statistic that floats in the void. Like,
it's definitely interesting. And I mean, I think as a whole, like, it's only a good thing. Like, popular experimentation is only a good thing. Sure, we might not, listen to to Lazaretto in the car every day, as we go to work or whatever, because that's just not what we like. But it's good that it exists, and it's good that it's bringing more the idea to more people.
Yes. However, I would like to meet someone that has finally made that full transition, and I have not met them yet.
Well, we have a small sample size.
Very true.
I mean, I know I personally know a couple of people that, listen to harder trap and more aggressive, like, trap metal, and they just listen to, like, metal on occasion now. It's just part of their musical vocabulary.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Cool. Well, hey, that was a nice end to that topic.
Yeah, that was
comparatively to like last week, where we kind of just were like, "Fuck Nazis!" Yeah, yeah, no, that was good. But yeah, speaking of new, no,
no, that was not a smooth transition.
No.
Speaking of new music,
there you go. Yeah, no, we have a lot of new music coming out, actually. That's
okay, firstly, can we talk about how sad it is that freaking the term cadaver?
Cadaver or cadaver?
Actually, oh my god,
cadaver.
Never mind. I was gonna do this whole bit. Ignore this. You can talk about whatever you were talking about.
Oh my god. Okay, there's a bunch of new music coming out this coming Friday. There's new Carcass. There's a new Carcass EP coming out.
Whoa.
Look, people love Carcass, man. All right.
Yeah, and we're one of those people.
Yes, we are. It's on Nuclear Blast. New John Petrucci album.
Another one?
The only one to come out this year.
I thought it came out earlier this year.
No, it releases on Friday, October 30th. Yeah.
Cool.
Who else is a member of this band? Who's on this wonderful project? I want to know. Mike Portnoy is, and Dave LaRue is. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I know. I read a really good review on Invisible Oranges by my guy Langdon.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, the chemistry between Portnoy and Petrucci is great.
I mean, yeah, it's classic. It's classic Dream Theater. This might be the first real Dream Theater project that we would have enjoyed in the last ever. Who knows?
Actually, the new Dream Theater album's not bad.
No, I agree. But this hopefully jumps back to our 90s Dream Theater days. We can hope. We can hope.
Yeah, they actually also I'm sure you'll touch upon them, but there are like 9 million announcements this week in particular.
There are a
Like
ton
ridiculous.
of announcements. Mr. Bungle, of course, on Friday.
Dude, have you listened to the singles?
Yes, I've listened to the singles.
Dude, they're not good.
It's just a different type of music, man. But, well, the weird thing is, Sam, is what I didn't know, is that half of it is a re-recording of their first demo.
Yeah, which is like an avant-garde thrash album.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I personally, not that I'm the biggest Bungle head ever, but like, I like Mr. Bungle for coked out metal. And I don't like them doing, Anthrax worship.
Well, hey, they have Dave Lombardo and Scott Ian.
Yeah, I know. And those guys are dope, but they don't really, they're a little one note when it comes to musical direction.
Fair enough. And then the last big release that's coming out, at least for me this week, is another new Botanist album.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that.
So check that one out.
I'm pretty sure there's like a pretty big indie album coming out that I'm just blanking on.
Almost always.
Well, actually, always.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a ton of underground stuff, but not worth going into it.
Holy heck, we got some announcements though, and like singles and stuff.
We do. You can take it from the top.
Well, first things first. Liturgy, new album, gonna slap. Liturgy
It is gonna slap.
Architects announced their new album. Blech. See what I did there?
Yeah.
See what I did there?
I did.
Ghost were like, yeah, we're gonna drop a new album next year. Which who really cares about that? But I don't know, Ghost. Gosh, Soen. Very excited for that. The single is not good.
No, it is not good. But
I was like,
new Soen.
what the heck?
I don't know what happened to Joel's fucking vocals, dude. I don't know where they are. Why are they so low now?
Dude,
there's no energy.
Yeah, that single was atrocious. I popped it on. I was like, fuck, Soen, they're so good. I can't wait to listen to it. I was so disappointed.
It's like all the energy just left the band, and they're like, I get they have a year and a half album cycle, but like,
which is nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like Lotus, like that album's great. That album's amazing. There are no flaws, and it's like the sinner has died. Well, we also Periphery live album.
Periphery live album. It's true.
Spoiler alert: Periphery sounds almost identical live. But
as someone who's seen the band twice live, can confirm they sound very similar to the record.
But that should be fun. I'll listen to it. Mm-hmm. Mother heckin' Hatebreed album.
Yeah.
I have yet to actually listen to Hatebreed. I just see the memes.
Yeah.
Attack. I know we touched upon they said they were planning something. Well, they announced a new album.
Yep. We mentioned the Fear Factory album that is coming out at some point.
Thank Christ, honestly.
Monolith is coming out at some point, and Dino posted a Twitter video of him doing a new riff.
Does it sound like every other Fear Factory riff?
I don't know. You'll have to listen for yourself.
Do you know who Ola Englund is?
No.
So he's a Swedish guitarist, YouTuber. He's been in a bunch of bands. He did like an interview with Dino, and like never, like it's hysterical watching it because like Fear Factory were really influential in the late '90s for a number of reasons, and Olo's clearly a fan of the band in the day. And like as the interview goes on, you can just see the light like leaving his eyes because he's like, "Wow, this is not going well." It's would recommend watching.
I'll watch it. I'll take a look.
Arcspire new bum.
Yeah.
Also, Korpiklani. I know we're waiting for that one.
That's funny.
I think we already talked about Jesu.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's a pretty solid announcement week.
Yeah, no. This is also another announcement. This came today. So David Hasselhoff is releasing a song with Q-Stack, who are an industrial metal group, and they're releasing a track together at some point.
I know. I
in the
saw that. And I was
future.
like, I'm not going to touch on this.
I will touch on it. That's
There,
big
dude. There are a
news,
few.
Sam.
There are a few. I think the two cringiest conservative metal musician moments of the week were the Bad Wolves frontman's endorsement of Trump.
Stop.
That dude, the dude's freaking justification was ridiculous.
Yes.
It was like it was the most like I don't know. I don't want to say anything too mean, but it was not great. It was like it was like Joe Biden is a far left communist that will dismantle all of your rights, which I mean, regardless of what you think of Joe Biden, the man's not very far left. And it was very funny. Also, Kid Rock was at the freaking presidential debate last week for no reason, and he refused to wear a mask because he's Kid Rock.
Yeah.
He's a dude that said the N-word on tape on his
But
99.
are we really surprised with Kid Rock though? We're not surprised by that.
No, we aren't.
I don't agree.
I know this isn't metal, but holy heck, did you listen to Kanye's Joe Rogan podcast?
I didn't listen to his podcast. I did listen to the new single though, and it's not very good.
Oh yeah, the new single's atrocious. But holy shit, dude. What Kanye says on that podcast, like it's like 2
Tell me.
hours of
Let's enlighten.
non-stop entertainment. Like this man will just say ridiculous things to justify absurd beliefs, and he'll say stuff like, God came to me in a dream and told me that I should be the leader of the free world. And then Joe Rogan will just be like, wow, that's pretty cool. It's a trip, and what really hurts is like Kanye's so close on so many things, and if he just had like a little bit of knowledge to like frame his arguments, he'd make sense.
Fair.
But that being said, it's atrocious. I'd recommend listening to it.
Sure. I'm just sort of going through the websites, and I forgot. New Deaf Heaven live album 2.
Oh yes, I saw that. Yeah, Deaf Heaven were touring with Interarma earlier this year.
Stop, Sam. I don't even want to hear it. I don't want to hear that.
Would have been pretty nice.
Yeah, it would have been nice. Goddamn. Yeah.
But when
I don't know.
The Guitar Center's bankrupt.
Yeah.
I can't imagine COVID helped that.
No, I can't imagine COVID helped that either. I don't know, man. You know what I've seen a lot of this week is that artists are like releasing their like how I got through quarantine and blah blah blah, all that stuff. Like I know Tool did one. I know a bunch of other groups have done it. Like what we've done to blah blah blah.
I feel out of touch. I mean, there. Like I appreciate like an art. I think I mentioned it, but like Tellock started a YouTube channel over this break. It's so great watching him just be like, "All right, guys, today we are covering black metal."
Yeah.
And I know a lot of artists have streamed. Yeah. That's cool.
Disturbed announced a new gin. Called Down with the Sickness. Yeah. It's called Down with the Sickness. It's green. It's green.
Oh my god! One of my friends.
There's only 666 bottles, and it's only available in Germany.
Adam, we flying to Germany or what?
I'm just saying, dude. I'm on the website. Let's see if it's still in stock.
One of my friends collects limited edition fast food liquor. Like Buffalo Wild Wings liquor, Taco Bell liquor, Burger King liquor, right? Which exists, and it's like they have the dumbest names. I want to start collecting like horrific band liquor.
All right, well, you got to get this Disturbed one right now. It's €50, and it's 66.6% alcohol.
Now I might be a vegan, but no, that's I hate Disturbed.
And the tag on it is, "Can you feel that?"
At least they're self-aware.
Are they?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Born of a Horizon, we're gonna do drive-in shows and that was probably going to be cool, but they had to cancel a lot of them because of travel restrictions, and that's not cool.
No, that's not cool. I do think that is cool, and I think that drive-in shows could be a thing if people actually put the time of day into it, but here we are.
I will say, at my school, we have a local venue that does open mic nights every week, and they've held them every week this semester, which is cool.
Oh, really?
Just outdoors.
Oh, that is cool.
So, man, there's so many like running themes we touch upon.
There are.
Just like COVID response, future of metal, post-millennial music.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's much music news other than what we've sort of
sounds
touched
about
on.
right. Gosh.
Anything
this
else?
Week was so stacked for releases. I feel like next week I'll have to go on Metal Storm and sort by top ratings. Dude, actually, I got to check it because I looked at it earlier this week and I like shit myself.
There's a new more Principium Est album that came out last week.
Yeah, we always forget like the giant metal bands.
That's because we just don't listen to them. And more Principium Est isn't. Actually, it's okay. I don't know. Their album from like 2015 was like all right.
Like if you like that stuff, they're great. I don't like that stuff though.
No, I don't either.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like so. I'm like for an interesting thing to end on. Maybe this is just me, boomering up. But I feel like this year just so far hasn't been as strong as last year.
For music?
Yeah, because there are a lot of amazing records, but I feel like the amount of records that connect with me, like on a personal level, are just lower.
I don't know, man. I think you're just not looking hard enough.
Yeah, but like, I mean, I listen to like a fair amount of music a week. I'm pretty on top of things.
I don't know. I just think...
Are there any albums as good as like Love Exchange Failure? Come on,
What are you talking about? Of course there are. You've listened to that new fucking Serpent Column album. You've heard Virus. Like, you've heard Immersion. Like, they're just not as spread out this year. This year is, like, very big, bam, like, shots in the dark of where releases are placed. And I've been noticing this as I've been going through my top list, is there's, like, a month of just supreme quality, and then it, like, lulls again, and then it jumps back up, and then it lulls again. But I do think that there is some absolutely stunning music. I agree that it's not. I just think that it's not as consistent.
Yeah, I feel that because it feels like especially this time around last year, like every single week would just fire on all cylinders, drop a 10.
Yeah, I think there are big weeks and then off weeks and big weeks and off weeks. Because I mean, like, the modern metal world is gonna have a storm this week with Carcass, John Petrucci, and Mr. Bungle. But I guess our like second, like tier 2 of mainstream, which is I guess kind of where we hang in, is kind of dry.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't call it mainstream because most people don't know this, but I know what you mean. Like the real, like the critically beloved underground releases are what we really gravitate towards.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, freaking! I totally forgot. Did you listen to the new Wake of a Zealand Art album?
Yes.
that was a stern yes.
It's an EP. And I have listened to it a few times. But it is above all else a Zealand Ardor album, if that makes sense. But I think it's too caught up in its message for its own good. There are, and I believe I'm counting correct, 2 tracks with tremolo picking. 2. And that's not to say that Zealand Ardor relies on their black metal side. But 4 of those 6 tracks are not metal tracks. So, put that in
Adam's donning his MAGA hat. He's grabbing the PBR.
I'm not saying they're not good. They're like, I think, Vigil is pretty good, and the title track is a nice piano ballad, But like,
actually, I'll have to listen to it because I've heard generally good things.
Tuskegee smacks. The one song. No,
Tuskegee smack.
Tuskegee smacks. Don't get me wrong. It's fine. Hey, it's the 22nd best EP this year, according to Metalum. So.
Oh, and on that note,
Yeah.
I'm Sam.
I'm Adam.
And you've been listening to the Post-Millennial Metal Guide podcast. Woo! Same time next week. Check us out.
Spotify, Anchor, Apple
YouTube.
Music Podcast, YouTube.
All the business.
All the business. That's
Yeah.
I think, yeah, that's it.